Anita Young works with students from the Royal Ballet School to explore the Ninette de Valois syllabus from 1947. She is joined by researcher and former Royal Ballet dancer Geraldine Morris.
Through your fingers. Yes, that was brilliant. So you're going to go double down.
Despite their expertise and ability, the students find the material challenging.
In slow motion, you've done your jitterbug.
Taking on the principles of the 1940s, they need to come to terms with a different technique. Central values of this style are intricate footwork and, as will be seen later, an extremely mobile upper body. Ballet's aesthetic values have changed through time. What's considered good in one era might be thought of quite differently in another. As the students learn the de Valois approach, they also rehearse phrases from their contemporary technique. In today's work, fluidity is more important than creating contrast. Another fundamental difference between the two approaches is that the earlier syllabus taught dance in phrases, whereas in today's method, steps are separated and given priority. The dancers have time to complete each step.
I want a little bit more of the sides and I want more of the back. Ready?
The port de bras phrase is revealing because of its approach to the music and the variations in quality stressed through the use of shoulders and the upper torso. The phrase is closely related to the dances of Frederick Ashton and Kenneth Macmillan. The students are conscious of the links with those earlier choreographers. The movement is elegant and requires significant control. There are no spectacular movements, but the movement needs to flow. Steps like the pas de bourrée are characteristic of de Valois and recur through the class, as do the confined floor patterns.
Go beyond the toe. That's a good boy, yes, that's very good.
The pirouette phrase highlights speed and changes of position. No sooner has weight been placed on the working foot than it is immediately raised, requiring core strength and quick thinking. You will see this again in the theatre on the second day, and by then the students will also have mastered the deep bends of the circular upper body movement.
Tap, that's on the straight leg. Then the arms come through the first, and we do a rond de jambe into an attitude. We've got to sink all those lovely Ashton ballets. Yes, from there. And then we're going to do a développé jumped with the arms from here that go through fifth. You're going to land, so it's like through that. Forward, yeah, without the chin, and then it does suture me. Suture me. Hard, isn't it? But you see what I mean about working on your sides and your back? Can you see how hard it is? We have this version like Roger Tube, obviously. You know, developed, trained all these teachers up. And we had it all the way through class. Can you release your heel from the floor? Can you release? It was not a rise, it was a release. And she's saying, now you're on your centre. And it wouldn't matter whether it was an arabesque or coup or whatever. That was our test.
The adagio performance is fast, requiring attention to speed and rapid transfers of weight. The phrase combines flowing, multi-focused movement with smooth transfers of weight. What's more, the pas de basse and soutenu entonnant happen not just here, but in many phrases throughout the class. the floor pattern is confined, and the lively and mobile upper body animates the phrase.
When Miss Morris came to you and we did the other second, what did we both do? I did one thing, I lowered you what? To 90, and what did this young lady do? She made you what? Bend your body.
Can you just describe that the effort, the dynamic, the work, the contrasting patterns in that?
It's constantly changing.
Yeah, it's a different type of it's changing, and you're changing your body, so you're not just using slow movements, you're using fast movements.
So it's faster than your normal adage would be. You're finding it. It doesn't look faster to watch it, but actually to perform it, you have to perform much faster. And ahead, you've got to think ahead all the time.
You have to know what's coming.
Yes.
What foot to have your weight on, and especially where, and if you're going to change it quickly, to move your body quickly onto it.
It's a very different approach to the body. It's a very different patterning. It's a very different kind of concept of what is good and what isn't good. Because now you see it's good if your leg is right up. Then that would be what matters. What matters was the bend. So those notions of value have changed.
Out, in, out, 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 in, out, out. Oh, you're the brain break you are.
The small beaten steps phrase shows intricacy and speed, encouraging floor-skimming jumps and steps initiated centrally from the body and not the legs. It is a complex, fast-moving phrase, requiring quick thinking and even more rapid weight changes. Some of these steps had never been performed by the students before.
Turn up, front leg, front leg, front leg, turn it up, down, on the down, over, Yeah. Yeah.
That's the trouble. You put the foot down and then pick it up straight away. Let's do it on the oar, I think.
And the thing is, it's coming through what position you take? Through a fifth into first, so you're deepening your plie through the first.
You don't need a perfect.
Yeah, but you've got to use the floor. You've got to use floor pressure. That's it. Otherwise, it becomes something else.
Restricted floor patterns are also evident, and the arms remain in place, forcing the body to initiate the movement.
I know you're trying to get the combination, you're thinking up, it's actually where? It's down. The whole thing is about the book on the head, feeling the book on the head, you know? Yes, getting into the floor, using your fondue, yes, and the floor pressure with the ball of the foot, yes. Not too much, because we call them knitting steps. Yes, it's very, yes. You've got to feel the whole leg, obviously, with the beats. But not so, yeah. So breath in the air, as we used to say. Yeah, we used to say, breathe in the air, but make sure that you're facing your corner shoulder open and the head is turned. Yeah. But can you actually look with both eyes and not just with your nose? Yes. So we're going to do, on boy take 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, yeah? And then from there, we're going to do a little pas de basque, which is going to finish. It's jumped, by the way. It's jumped. But the body weight is going to be, without your bum sticking out and your arms here, you're going to admire your toe. You've got to keep your toe where it is, this heel, and that comes into an attitude. And the arms are in third. And a fondu. And the weight has to be where do you fit? All right, okay, do you think you can increase that plie, don't you? Yes. Yeah, and then goes coupe, her favourite, to change weight. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's no extension.
In the emboîté phrase, the dancer's eye is important in these turns. Though to the contemporary viewer the arms may look confined, despite following a diagonal path, the phrase is structured to slow down the diagonal, deliberately arresting its flow.
So it needs it has a spontaneous, yeah? And then you hold that photograph and then coupe. No? Light and shade.
Meaning box. So if you take box, all these French words are actually action commands. They tell you how to do the movement, not what to do. Frappe, fouette, jeter is to throw, glisser. These are action commands rather than actually describing the step. It describes the quality.
Central to this phrase are small, non-spectacular steps with a crisp, sharp dynamic. The phrases move in a circle, restricting the course of the path. The eye positions draw attention to the various brief poses which interrupt the flow. It is a typical de Valois group of phrases, in contrast with a travelling phrase from today's work.
See, that to me is demi-second. This is al-second. Yeah? And then as you turn, you see the arm, yeah? Then there's your watch. It's like this young's watch. Can you see? Yeah? 1, 2, 1, 2. And a 1, 2. No, but your eyes did not go ba. Ba. Yes, there you go. And then go.
What's important in this sample of phrases from today's classroom is the flatter turnout, the leg height, and the way in which the dancers move from pose to pose. The emphasis is on the extensions both on and off the ground. The movement is lavish and fluent, with an extravagant diagonal in the final dance phrase. It is 1 month later. Anita, Geraldine and the dancers meet once again to perform some of the key phrases they had learned using the de Valois technique and examine how it might inform and integrate with their contemporary ballet method.
And the E, yeah. Put the breath into the spine. Yes, good. Well done. It's a chassé, and the chassé's got to come from fifth position before you go back. So you've got to slide the foot. Slide all the way round. Again, I know because it's the way we are today, everything's much more open, but it's still keeping, that side arm still wants to do that. Yeah. Yes, you've got to keep within the table, and the table's in front of us, and you go round the table. Around, that's a go, yes. Yeah? If you take the arm behind your shoulder line, the weight will go back, the ribs stick out, and you're not going to move quickly. Use it. Thank you so much. And there's also, yes, the balloon. Remember, the torso is the balloon, and there's lots of air inside the balloon. Yeah?
So we keep it below 90.
Two things to remember. The higher the leg, the less body. You can only get your fondue if this is square. I thought you took on the corrections from this morning because we mentioned first of all how important it was with the gathering of the arms, remember? And it wasn't, we're pushing out arm, you very well done, very well done. If I have just one thing to say, you're all late getting into the arabesque, and that's because your weight has not been established over the front of your foot. When you you see you got there on one hand, and the music has to go, it goes, ya, da, da, ya. You've got to be in the, yes, it's not about being jerky, it's nothing about being, it's about getting there. Okay, I thought the bend was better, but I have to say, if she were alive, she would really make you bend. Can you put your leg in a second? Now the arms have to balance, but even more. See, your head should almost be in line with this toe. Yeah? And we had to do promenade in that position. So you had to be very strong in your core, the sides and the back. Try and do a promenade in there. Yeah, I know, it's a different ball game, isn't it? Yeah. I still feel that you're thinking of up rather than down. It goes down into the floor. Down, yeah, don't jump it. Can you see? Your toes hardly lift the floor. Through the floor, through the toes. Yeah, lilt. I know you don't want to wring your hair, do you see, you've got to be aware that it's there and not this. Yeah? through your toes, through your toes, through your toes, through your toes. Yeah, and cross your ankles. It's a real beat, back front or front back. Yeah, and back front, yes, 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 through your feet. We should hardly hear you land. Can you see I'm hearing rather a lot of, and not enough of, right. Let's try it going back.
Notice the speed of the weight transfer.
Remember embroidered jumps? It's her favourite word. She wants to see the embroidery, the interweaving. Show me. Stretch the underneath foot. Yes, you've still got to stretch. You've still got to stretch the underneath foot as you come. Yes. Yeah, as you transfer your weight, you've still got to go through your toes. Yes. Yeah? There you go. There you are. There you're getting that floor pressure. Ironing the floor, as we used to say. Iron the floor. Iron the floor. She would always say, iron the floor, everyone. Go on, iron the floor.
Low grounded jumps are problematic for today's dancers. There are multiple changes of body and direction here.
The whole movement is going through the centre to take you there. It's about circles. Your eyes are always making a circle. So they're going up, and they're going to go over. Circular, that's it. Surprise the audience. Don't tell them what you're going to do next. Surprise, and then you finish there. So you've got to hold your centre on the posture, and then arrive there. And up, yes, and further, over, yeah. Yeah. Now you've got to stay on the same plane as you go into the corner, and then surprise the audience with a foot. And yeah, top on a little bit high. Yeah, otherwise what tends to happen, it ends up, can you see it just falls the line? To be careful that you don't throw a movement away. You know, you have, again, it's going back to containment. Yes, you know, yeah, I think you know. It's lovely to have that, but yes. And the audience, you see, it gives definition to your work. I finished. Rather than, and you were late bringing the arm round. Yeah. So you, unless you get that back going round. Yeah, and we didn't see the eyes to the front of the partnership, so we lost the excitement of where it was going. It should be going up to go to go down. There's to the corner, and then it goes up to go down. It's wonderful work, isn't it?
Today's examples show higher extensions. These are more comfortable for the students. And there is time for each position to be correctly formed. the pas de bourrée is incidental here, lost in the overall phrase. This has a luscious, long, diagonal phrase. The film has highlighted major differences between the past and present. These accomplished dancers have wrestled with the early technical style. Yet, as you can see, the material helped with their current training, despite its emphasis on high legs and flat turnout. These were less important in 1947, when flexibility in the upper body and small, intricate jumps were cherished. So it seems ballet doesn't have fixed values. It has changed, and will change according to the cultural mores of the time. The development is not necessarily improvement or progress. Ballet doesn't get better and better. It merely shifts, becomes a part of the social and cultural fabric of its time. Fast-forwarding this change, as we have done here, and viewing the techniques side by side, will perhaps help us view the past differently. The movement uses more of the torso, the upper body and eyes, whilst the arms are relatively confined. This gives the de Valois style a directness of communication and enhances the audience-dancer connection. Also, the speed and choice of small, intricate steps gives this technique an exuberance less evident today. However, there is no escaping the sheer athleticism and technical brilliance of these contemporary dancers. Their energy is palpable, adding fluency to the longer floor patterns of today's style.
We're looking at different sets of ballet views. So it's not necessarily that people today are better than before, they're different, and their whole value systems have changed hugely. And I'm wondering, did you feel that particularly?
I found that nowadays we tend to focus on just on the technical side, what our bodies are doing, but not the purpose, why we're doing it. So we'll focus on technical things. For example, if we do a piqué arabesque, we'll think of stretching our bottom foot, turning it out, lifting the leg, stretching that, pushing the foot. But then it won't always make the movement look as graceful and organic, because we won't actually reach and get our weight in the right place. I found that in the twentieth step, the arms are very much related to the eye focus and the upper body. So it links all together, and the use of the upper body is the focus of the exercise rather than like the leg work, which we tend to focus on nowadays.
Really, in a way, what you're saying is that it was much more phrase-based together. Yes, what did you think?
And I also think everything has a reason. Every step leads on to another step within the tonlier. It leads on to the jumps. It leads on to something else. And I think everything is done for a reason. I think it's easier to connect with it.
Yes, again, and
Yeah, like Alex was saying, it wasn't just position. It was more like movement, like what goes into the next, and like also it was more on dynamics as well, like holding something and then like continuing into the movement and stuff.
That's really interesting, the way they're put together. Do you think?
I found that when we do orange chain mounts, we think of one step, then the other, then the other, then the other one. Whereas the phrases that we learn from the past curriculum it goes together. You couldn't have one step just by itself. It's either all of it or like none of it.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you say that. Yeah. And does it feel comfortable, or
It feels much more like harmonious. Like it
Yeah.
feels more organic when we move.
yeah, that's
Nice.
interesting. What about you?
And I think
Both of
especially when the movements go into your body, it's easier to move with it rather than our classes. It's more like one step, then one step, then one step. But now the style is in our body. The movements together go really well, and it just works well.
And yeah, did you find that too?
In the classes we do now, because like the transference of the weight was really different. Like the one with the pas de bourrée, like you would go from one place to another, whereas the classes nowadays we have time to like shift into like slowly into the next position and get comfortable and then get into the position rather than just going straight away one into the other.
I feel like as an audience member looking in, when we're doing our développé, it's more like they're looking in on us doing a class. Whereas when we're doing the emboîté step, it's more like we're inviting them in and we're bringing the audience in with us rather than we're just dancing and they're looking in on us.
So something very good is that with your own words, you have used the word harmony, organic, continuity, linking up, and it's very good that you are using those terms. We are not putting them in their mouths.
Yeah.
They're coming from you. So one question. Anita and to a lesser extent Geraldine have given you quite a lot of corrections over the 2 sessions. Which ones of those corrections you can think, oh, those corrections were really useful?
Explaining clearly where the eye focus is when we take in the audience and where it goes helps create a sense of continuity within our upper body movements, as well as showing that every movement's choreographed to the music. That helps us move through the movements with the music. It's almost impossible to do those enchaînements off music, because otherwise it just doesn't work.
Excellent.
And I think one correction that stayed is the up and over and having your weight up and lifted. I felt like it just works so well with ballet, and that's just what ballet is about, being proud, being up and over, and then that keeps the organicness of the legs, because you can move the legs and you can move the body. Just as long as your weight's in the right place, then it will just move continuously and it will just work.
Yeah, I would say the same thing with like the use of the breath, because breathing is like natural, and like if we weren't breathing it wouldn't allow us to go into like the next thing and like continuously like move like flowingly.
And I think nowadays we focus so much on technique in class that we can go through a whole class and not even think about our artistic presence in the room or the stage. Whereas it's some of the steps that we did today, it's more like they're built into the steps of the pas de chou. You look at the audience then down, it's already there, you're already working on it before you've got to the stage, before the performance, but you're working on it in the studio rather than just working on the feet in the pas de chou.
Anita and Geraldine were trying to do with you today and the other day, you found harder to follow, or perhaps a little bit confusing, or that I wish I could understand it better?
I would say it was like the musicality, especially like in the jumps, like finding the accent down, like that was quite challenging, especially like these days we all jump like more upwards and everything's more up. It made me think, oh, do I have to anticipate? Do I have to sacrifice this? Do I have to sacrifice that just to get down? And it was like kind of like confusing for me, I think.
Excellent.
I think especially when we were bending, I feel like in our classes that we do today, they're not more relaxed, but there's more of an like your own artistic, like personal thing you can put into the class. So I feel like sometimes I can go a little bit further, or I can go a little bit less, but it will be fine as long as I do what I think is right rather than hitting one position. And you have to hit that one position. I think for me that definitely stood out.
It is challenging when you don't quite get it, but once you start to understand where it's come from and how it's helping you, I feel like I've hurt myself less. Sometimes in ballet class I'll hurt my shins by trying to jump so high, or I'll feel like I'm fighting my own body to get my legs up, to turn more, to like hold the balance. Whereas here I feel like I've danced for an audience and I've been gentle to myself, to my body as well.
Really interesting, yes.
But I noticed the difference when you were doing your unseen on shame on at the end, and how you had applied some of the corrections that we gave you this morning in our de Valois class, and how you actually put it into your on shame on, and it was so much easier to watch. It was not so tense. We could see you breathing.
And it feels nicer as well. I feel more contained, and like I can get on my legs trying to do things more cleverly
And you
instead
can
of
work
just
your-
trying to.
And your feet will be relaxed because your weight was in the right place.
And it's more enjoyable as well, dancing from the inside. And I think you enjoy yourself when you dance, rather than just doing a tonju, you're doing a tonju.
It leaves the audience interested as well, because they're like, oh, I want to see a bit more of this person or like this dancer. So yeah.
Yes.
And the thing about us doing, for example, Ashton works now at school without getting a deeper understanding of where it's come from and the purpose of the movements and why it's so important to do it a certain way. Because then when we've done La Valse last year, for myself, for example, when I first saw the material, I was just copying the épaulements and the heads and the movements. I was just kind of mimicking the image without actually understanding why it was going there and how it has to be done from the inside out, instead of just pretending to look like an Ashton trained dancer. So now that we've got a deeper understanding of it, I feel like, for example, rep like La Valse wouldn't feel as like, it would still be challenging, but I wouldn't feel like I'm fighting the movement. I feel like it makes sense and it'd feel more organic.